Hello and welcome to another video of ENT by Dr. Pranshu Mehta. Let's earn ENT so that we can learn ENT like never before. So this class is about the anatomy of the larynx. Actually, we will be moving on to the diseases of larynx, but for that we need to understand the larynx anatomy. So starting off with the larynx anatomy, what is larynx? Larynx is nothing but a cartilaginous framework. So a cartilaginous framework which is made up of a few cartilages which are connected to each other as well as muscles with the help of ligaments. Now there are 3 paired and 3 unpaired cartilages. So total there are 9 cartilages in the larynx. Now talking about the ligaments, there are ligaments which will connect cartilages to each other. They'll be called as intrinsic ligaments, and then there are ligaments which connect these 9 cartilages to structures outside. These are called as extrinsic ligaments. So first of all, the larynx is suspended in the neck at the level of starting from C3 vertebra to the level of C6 vertebra. Starting about the cartilages. So we have 3 unpaired cartilages which are the epiglottis, the thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage. All the unpaired cartilages lie in the midline. Then we have 3 paired cartilages which are the arytenoid, the corniculate and the cuneiform. So they are present one on each side. Okay, now the larynx is suspended in the neck, but if it's suspended, it means it is attached to something above and below. So above it is attached to the hyoid bone and below it is attached to the trachea. So let's start with unpaired cartilages first. First of all, talking about the epiglottis. Epiglottis is a fibroelastic cartilage. Epiglottis is a fibroelastic cartilage which is leaf-like. It is shaped like a leaf. As you can see, its anterior surface is connected to the hyoid bone via hyoepiglottic ligament. This is one of the intrinsic ligament. Now, this hyoepiglottic ligament divides epiglottis into 2, above it and below it. The above one is called supra-hyoepiglottic or supra-hyoid part of epiglottis, and below it is called infrahyoid part of epiglottis. Now, as you can see, there are pits on the surface. Okay, let's see it from a different view. Imagine this is the tongue, this is base of tongue. There is a mucosal fold from the base of the tongue to the epiglottis, one in the center and 2 on each side. This is what is called glossoepiglottic fold. Now see, one in the middle is called the median one, and the 2 on the both sides are called lateral glossoepiglottic folds. As the name suggests, glosso means tongue, epiglottic referring to the epiglottis, so glossoepiglottic fold. This one is the lateral one, both have made, in the center is the medial one, lateral glossoepiglottic fold. These are nothing but mucosal folds or mucosal reflections from base of tongue to the epiglottis. This we are seeing from above. Now in between these there is a dip, a fossa kind of a structure which we call as vallicula. So the vallicula lies between the glossoepiglottic folds. Now moving on to the next cartilage, we have the thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage is actually flat lamina like. It has 2 lamina or the alae which meet in the midline, forming the thyroid angle. This is approximately 90 degrees in male and 120 degrees in female. Hence it is more acute in males and can be felt, like easily can be felt in the males. As you can see above it is dehiscent. This is called the thyroid notch. Now I've made this angle notch. These are the ala. Then we have extensions superiorly and inferiorly. Superiorly we have the superior thyroid horn and inferiorly we have the inferior thyroid horn. The inferior thyroid horn will articulate with the cricoid and the superior one will attach to the hyoid. Okay, so where it attaches to the cricoid, it forms the cricothyroid joint. Now this joint allows the rotation of thyroid cartilage around the axis which passes through both the cricothyroid joints. Now as you can see, this can actually bring the thyroid closer to the cricoid or take it away. Now this is what will affect the length of the vocal cords, increasing the tension or reducing them. Now let's come to the arytenoids. Arytenoids is one of the paired cartilages. Remember, it is paired. Now it rests above the cricoid. It is attached to the cricoid posteriorly. Now it has few processes. Anteriorly, as you can see, there is a vocal process which will provide space for attachment of the vocal cords. Then laterally we have a lateral muscular process which will allow for the attachment of muscles like posterior cricoarytenoid. Then we have on the top there is a space or a surface for articulation with the corniculate cartilage, and inferiorly it has a facet which articulates with the cricoid, as I have already drawn, it is sitting above the cricoid cartilage. Okay. So further talking about the cricoid cartilage now. Cricoid cartilage is the only complete ring or the only complete cartilage in the larynx, a complete ring-like cartilage which is there 360-degree. So as you can see, it is complete ring-like, but posteriorly it is lamina-like and anteriorly it is thin. This is the posterior side where I am drawing this facet. As we already know, on this facet we'll have the arytenoid. Arytenoid will come and articulate over this facet. So this is posterior side. From superiorly, if we see, there is a raphe in the middle or a ridge which gives attachment to the pharyngeal muscles. This ridge or the pharyngeal ridge over the cricoid, this is the posterior surface. It allows for the attachment of pharyngeal or the esophageal muscles. Then anteriorly, as I have told you, it is thin. This can be palpated. We can hold this anteriorly and move it side to side. When we move it side to side, the posterior surface rubs against the prevertebral muscles and the prevertebral space, or you can say the body of the vertebra. It will actually rub against the body of the vertebra. When we rub it, it produces a sound which is called as the laryngeal crepitus. Now, whenever this laryngeal crepitus is absent, it means something has come in between the body of the vertebra and the cricoid, which in most cases is malignancy or a mass. So whenever this sound is absent, we call it as Boca's sign. The post-cricoid rub or the laryngeal crepitus so is absent in cases of post-cricoid malignancies, and that is what is called as Boca's sign. Now moving on to ligaments and membranes. Okay, so it's very easy to remember. Any ligament or any membrane that connects or is attached to a part of larynx and again attached to another part of larynx, that is connecting two things within the larynx, is called intrinsic, and any ligament of or membrane which is attached to the larynx and it is connecting the larynx to the structures outside is called extrinsic ligament or extrinsic membrane. To start with the extrinsic membrane or ligaments, as you can see, there is a membrane attached from the hyoid bone above in blue and thyroid cartilage below. This is called the thyrohyoid membrane. Now this is extrinsic and it is thickened in the middle and the lateral sides to form thyrohyoid ligaments. This is extrinsic as it is attaching the thyroid cartilage with the structure outside larynx, that is hyoid bone. Second, we have hyoepiglottic ligament, about which we have already read, attached from the hyoid bone to the epiglottis, the anterior surface of the epiglottis. Again, it is an extrinsic ligament. Third, we have the cricotracheal ligament. See, it is connecting the cricoid inferior border to the trachea. So it is cricotracheal ligament. Now, if you see that if we make a line which passes through the hyoepiglottic ligament, we can see that it divides epiglottis into two parts, suprahyoid and infrahyoid. Now this becomes important when we read about the diseases. Okay, so moving on to intrinsic membranes and ligaments. So first of all, this we are seeing this from inside. Suppose we are seeing this from inside. We have epiglottis and thyroid cartilage. The ligament connecting the epiglottis to the thyroid cartilage is called the thyroepiglottic ligament. Now if you see, thyroid cartilage is a part of larynx and epiglottic ligament is the part of larynx. So this is an intrinsic ligament. Then we have a membrane from the inferior margin of the ala of thyroid cartilage extending to the superior surface or superior border of the cricoid cartilage. This is called cricothyroid membrane. It is also thickened in the center and laterally to form cricothyroid ligaments. Okay, so again this is an intrinsic ligament and intrinsic membrane because it is connecting two cartilages which are a part of the larynx. Now again there is one more membrane which is attached from the cricoid, comes up till the thyroid, but it comes up in a conical manner. See, it is coming inside forming a cone. This membrane is called the cricovocal membrane. This is the cricovocal membrane. Again, this is one of the intrinsic membranes because it is connected between the thyroid cartilage and the cricoid cartilage. Now anteriorly this is connected to the inner surface of thyroid cartilage. You can see it is forming a cone, and posteriorly it is attached to the arytenoids. Posteriorly it is attached to the arytenoids, the vocal process. Now the thickening of this membrane, the superior most part, the red one which I have drawn, this is what forms the vocal cord. Okay, we'll see it from a different angle. See, that is arytenoid. So from arytenoid vocal process to the thyroid cartilage inner surface, this membrane extending from the cricoid. This is the cricovocal membrane. And if you see the topmost part, this is the full membrane. Now if you see the topmost part, which I have drawn with continuous blue line, that is the topmost part, and it is thickened to form vocal cord. Okay. Now another mucosal fold is there from extending from the epiglottis coming to the arytenoids. So as the name suggests, AE fold or the aryepiglottic fold. The name itself is explanatory. It is aryepiglottic, extending between arytenoids and the epiglottic. So mucosal fold or reflection from the epiglottis to the arytenoids. Now if we see it from a cross section point of view, this is the epiglottis. Now this is aryepiglottic fold. Now within the aryepiglottic fold we have a membrane. This membrane is what we call as the quadrangular membrane. This is the quadrangular membrane. Now if you see the margins or the boundaries of this quadrangular membrane, superiorly the limit of the quadrangular membrane is the aryepiglottic fold. So superiorly it is extending till the aryepiglottic fold, and inferiorly it is thickened. It is thickened to form the false vocal cords. So the false vocal cords are made up of thickening of the inferior margin of quadrangular membrane. These are also called as ventricular bands. Okay, now inferiorly, as we had already read, that from the cricoid till the thyroid anteriorly and posteriorly to the arytenoid, we have cricovocal membrane. This is green one is the cricovocal membrane, and the thickening of, you see here, the thickening. Okay, this cricovocal membrane is also called the conus elasticus. Now you see the thickening of this superior margin of this membrane is what forms the vocal ligament, which we call as the vocal cord. So the vocal ligament is nothing but the thickening of cricovocal membrane, vocal ligament. Now in between false cords and true cords, you see a reflection of the mucosa. This is what we call as the ventricles. Now in this ventricle, this is very important because it has oil glands, because mucus and oil is not produced from the vocal cords, it is produced in the ventricle. Now coming to the laryngeal inlet. Okay, what structures make the laryngeal inlet? We will learn it through a diagram. So this is A fold in the green, blue one are the vocal cords, yellow is the arytenoid, and white is the epiglottis. So we'll start with the laryngeal inlet. So okay, we'll start from sides. We have this red, whatever I have marked in red, this is what is forming the laryngeal inlet. So see what structures come in it. First we have the epiglottis over the top, a little part of the epiglottis. Then these green ones are the aryepiglottic folds, the aryepiglottic or the AE folds. Then we have arytenoids on both the sides, so arytenoid cartilages. Then in between the both arytenoids we have something which is a muscle which is called the intra-arytenoid muscle. It's intra-arytenoid because it is present between two arytenoid cartilages, so it is inter-arytenoid muscle. Okay, so now moving on to the muscles of larynx. Again, just like membranes and ligaments, we have intrinsic and extrinsic muscles. So in intrinsic muscles we have two groups of muscles. There will be muscles which will act on the vocal cords, and then there will be muscles which will act on the larynx as in whole. Okay, so let's see what they can do. The muscles which will act on the vocal cords will either adduct the vocal cord, that is bring them towards the midline, or abduct the vocal cord, that is take them away from the midline, or they will be the tensors of the vocal cord, means they will increase the tension in the vocal cords. Okay, then we have muscles which will act on the laryngeal inlet. So laryngeal inlet, they can either open the inlet or they can either close the inlet. Now moving on to extrinsic muscles, muscles which are connected to larynx and connecting larynx to the other parts. Now they can either be elevators or they can be depressors. Now the elevators will elevate the larynx as a whole, and depressors will depress the larynx as a whole. So moving on to the intrinsic muscles, we will have abductors, we will have adductors, and we will have tensors. So the only and most important muscle of the larynx, which is the abductor, is the posterior cricoarytenoid muscle. It is the only muscle that is the abductor. So if there is paralysis of this abductor, the larynx ends up in adduction and patient has difficulty in breathing. Now talking about adductors, we have lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. Then other than this, we have the thyroarytenoid muscle. But the lateral part of thyroid arytenoid has two type of fibers, the medial and the lateral ones. Okay, then the tensor, we have again the thyroarytenoid, but this time the medial fibers, the inner fibers, because outer fibers are working as the adductor. So this is what we also call as the vocalis muscle. Okay, other than this, we have cricothyroid muscle. Now talking about the openers and closers, these are the muscles which will act on the laryngeal inlet. So openers, we have thyroepiglottic muscle. This, whenever this muscle will contract, it will open the laryngeal inlet so that we can breathe easily. Then we have the closers, which are aryepiglottic muscles along with aryepiglottic folds and interarytenoid muscle. Now whenever these muscles will contract, our laryngeal inlet will close so that the food can easily pass and we can swallow the food directly into the esophagus and it does not go into the larynx or the airway. Now coming to the extrinsic muscles, again, as I told you, we have elevators and depressors. So muscles which are connected to the larynx and structures above it will elevate it. Then depressors will depress the larynx. Now in elevators also, we can have primary elevators and secondary elevators. Primary elevators are those which are directly connected to the larynx, like to the thyroid cartilage. So we have muscles like salpingopharyngeus, palatopharyngeus, stylopharyngeus. These all muscles are actually directly connected to the thyroid cartilage and thyroid. Now secondary elevators are those which are muscles which are connected to the hyoid bone. So they will pull the hyoid bone up, and indeed hyoid will pull the larynx up with itself. So these are mylohyoid, stylohyoid, geniohyoid, and then we have digastric muscle. So these muscles are secondary elevators, not the primary. Primary elevators are directly attached to the thyroid cartilage. Okay, then coming to the depressors. Again, all the muscles which are connected to the thyroid cartilage and structures below its level will depress the larynx, like sternothyroid connected to the sternum, then sternohyoid. Sternohyoid actually you can say is similar to secondary because it is also attached to the hyoid bone. Then we have omohyoid. Now moving on to the most important thing, that is the vocal cords. So by now we know that the vocal cords extend anteriorly between the posterior surface of the thyroid cartilage and form the anterior commissure. So this area, the red one which I've made, is called the anterior commissure, and posteriorly they are attached to the vocal process of the arytenoid cartilage, and here posteriorly they form the posterior commissure. Now the anterior commissure, their attachment is fixed and they do not move over there. Posterior commissure is the area where they move because they are attached to the arytenoid and the arytenoid moves. Okay, now this posterior commissure is actually prone for injury by gastric reflux because esophagus lies adjacent. Now the anterior 2/3 part of this vocal cord is responsible for voice production, and this posterior 1/3 part is what is responsible for breathing. So any disease or mass in the anterior part will cause speaking difficulty or change in voice or hoarseness, and any disease in the posterior part will cause difficulty in breathing. Now the vocal cord histologically can be divided into 5 layers. Actually there are 3 layers, but the middle layer has 3 parts. So the superficial one is the squamous epithelial. Then the second layer is actually the lamina propria, which is divided into 3 layers, like the superficial layer, the intermediate layer, and the deep layer. The superficial layer of the lamina propria is what we call as the Rinke space. The intermediate layer and the deep layer together form the vocal ligament, and the innermost is the muscular layer, which is formed by the vocalis muscle, which are nothing but the innermost fibers of the thyroarytenoid. Now this intermediate and deep layer forms the vocal ligament. Now this vocal ligament, as we already know, is nothing but the thickening of conus elasticus or the cricovocal membrane, the superiormost part of the cricovocal membrane. Okay, now another important topic in larynx for understanding its diseases is the spaces. What are the spaces associated with the larynx? So we have first the pre-epiglottic space. So as the name suggests, pre-epiglottic means in front of the epiglottis. So the space which is bounded anteriorly by thyrohyoid membrane, a membrane passing from thyroid to the hyoid, superiorly by hyoepiglottic ligament, posteriorly by anterior surface of the epiglottis. This area which I have marked, yes, this one is called the pre-epiglottic space, and this was actually termed by the scientist whose name was Boyer. Actually, he was a doctor, so the name of the space is called as pre-epiglottic space of Boyer. Now, why is this important? Because it contains fat. This pre-epiglottic space contains fat, and there are pits on the epiglottis. So whenever there is a malignant lesion on either side of the epiglottis, either the anterior surface or the posterior surface, it can migrate through these pits and involve the pre-epiglottic space. And whenever the fat is involved in the pre-epiglottic space, the carcinoma can spread from the pre-epiglottic space to the paraglottic space as it communicates with the paraglottic space laterally. Okay, so now coming to the paraglottic space, okay, I'm drawing this. The quadrangular membrane, then the vestibule, the conus elasticus. Okay, here this is the cricoid. Now the space which is bound laterally by inner surface of the thyroid cartilage, medially by the quadrangular membrane, the ariepiglottic fold, even the conus elasticus, this space marked in the green, I'll make it. See boundaries, you can see this is the thyroid cartilage inner part, so this will be lateral boundary. Medial boundary will be the quadrangular membrane, even the vestibule and the conus elasticus, and superiorly the AE folds, ariepiglottic folds. And this will communicate with the pre-epiglottic space. So paraglottic space and pre-epiglottic space communicate with each other. So any lesion in the pre-epiglottic space or infection can pass on to the paraglottic space, and the paraglottic space infection or malignancy can easily pass to the pre-epiglottic space. Now the third space is the Rinke space, which is nothing but the superficial layer of the lamina propria of vocal cords. This we have already read about. So now whatever we have read, we'll see it in the actual specimen of larynx. Okay, so this is the epiglottis. I have actually cut this larynx into two from behind in the midline. So we are seeing it from inside. This is the epiglottis. Okay, now after epiglottis, I'll draw the arytenoids. Here, these two structures are the arytenoid cartilages. Now, if you see from the epiglottis to the arytenoid, there is a mucosal fold. Now, these two are corniculate and cuneiform cartilages which I've made sitting over the arytenoids. Now, from the arytenoid, there is a mucosal fold on both the sides in green color which I've drawn. These are the ariepiglottic folds. They are nothing but mucosal folds, and beneath the AE fold, we have a membrane about which we have read, which is called the quadrangular membrane. This is the quadrangular membrane. Now, as you can see, the superior margin of the quadrangular membrane is the AE fold, and inferior margin is thickened to form the ventricular bands or the false vocal cords. These are the false vocal cords. Now, where will be the true vocal cords? Okay, coming to the true vocal cords, extending from the arytenoid, going anteriorly to attach to the thyroid cartilage are the true vocal cords. These are the true vocal cords. Now, in true vocal cords, I had told you that between false and true vocal cords, we have a mucosal pouching which is called the ventricle. So this is the ventricle from where the secretions for lubricating vocal cords will come. Now this is the cut part of the cricoid, because posteriorly we have cut it. It is flat posteriorly, and anteriorly you can see it is going and thinning like a ring. And this is the cricovocal membrane or the conus elasticus from the cricoid coming up to the vocal ligament of the vocal cords. And you can see the superior most margin is thickened to form the vocal ligament, where we can see the vocal cords. Below is the trachea, and the membrane connecting or the ligament connecting the cricoid and the trachea is the cricotracheal ligament. So this is the cricotracheal ligament. So this is an actual specimen where you can read about the larynx. Now I would like you to take up this assignment, draw a label diagram of ideal indirect laryngoscopy, then write names of paired and unpaired cartilages, intrinsic muscles and ligaments and extrinsic muscles and ligaments of the larynx, as well as find the blood supply of larynx, and you can mail the answers with your roll numbers. And you want to watch those videos to understand the anatomy, you can follow the ENT surgeons on YouTube, on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook as well. Or you can just search ENT by Dr. Pranshu Mehta on Google and you'll get the links of the videos. So this is for now. Thank you. I'm Dr. Pranshu Mehta. Hope to see you again soon in the next class.